Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about confidence and overconfidence, and takes me back quite in history to quote Groucho Marx when he said, "I will not join any club which is willing to make me a member." And I think this is beautiful because for many of us, we should understand that if somebody is giving us something free, there has to be a catch to it. The other person has to get something out of giving you something free, right? Now, the worst thing that you can get free is a market research report on any company. I mean, it could be an equity research report, let's say. So if you find an equity research report saying buy this share at a particular price, first thing you have to wonder is, for whom was it created? Was it created for you? Was it made for you? Can you take the prescription of your neighbor just because you are the same age? You don't even know what are his symptoms. You do not even know what are his problems. Why would you eat the same medicine, right? Now, exactly like that, suddenly you are thrown a lot of research reports. I keep getting at least 2-3 a day from people who have done some research on some company. I read it. I completely read it to know what others are thinking, and not because I'm interested in those shares, because the shares in which I am interested, I get my research reports anyway, right? So I do read it, but then there are 2-3 things which worry me. One is, why is he or she sharing it with me? And how confident are they about making these reports, even though their previous reports have been wrong, right? These are 2 things which worry me. So over so many years, I've understood that people who make research reports are ordinary people sitting behind terminals. They do not have a crystal ball. They take a lot of data, they analyze, and they come to some conclusions, and they share it with you. Now, I'm sure they've given that report to somebody else to act upon, etc., etc. And after 2 days, 3 days, it comes to me, and maybe after 4 or 5 days, they also release it free on their websites or on some other media platform. Somewhere it gets released. So what is in it for him, I do not know. Is a person of reasonable capability. I also don't understand why I should look at consensus data. Consensus data again is is definitely not useful, and I do not also like average data. So the average PE of the market is something which I struggle with, because I should be worried about the individual PE of every share that I hold, right? I should not be worried about market PE, total PE. Yes, if I'm writing an article, it is useful, but for my investing, how that is useful beats me, right? This brings us to another thing that a few days ago, Vivek Kaul had done a program, had written an article about confidence, where he said people predict very confidently. I have seen that when you try to invest in a unit-linked plan, some boy who comes to you or a girl who comes to you will come with a projection which is derived to 2 decimal places for 30 years. And 99% of the people think that is an illustration of what is going to happen with their money. It is not. Please understand, that is not an illustration. It is a cost illustration. It just says, if you get 8% return, after our expenses, how much will you be left with? So don't go and say IRR is 8. It is not 8. 8 is at the gross. After that, there are other expenses, risk charges, admin charges, whatever. And after that, what will you get? That is what it says. It is not saying how much you will get. It is a cost illustrator. It is not a projection of what you are going to get. Vivek Kaul's article, he had also mentioned about Rakesh Jhunjhunwala making predictions about where the market will be. I mean, if you had believed all those predictions, the market should be at 1,50,000 now, and Rakesh is not alone. Sorry. There are others. There are predictors like Ridham Desai and Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, of course, I mentioned, and a lot of people who come on television and tell you that the market will reach this place and that place. Remember, these are not people with average capability. They are far above average. They have made a lot of money in the market, right? But also realize that many of these people, and I'm not saying Rakesh in particular, many of these people need to be on television to talk about either a company or the market in general, economy or something like that, because if they are not in the market for raising money, they are in it for doing something else. They are merchant bankers. They need their own IPOs to be sold, their NFOs to be sold, or their PMS to raise money. There has to be some reason why they come on television. When you come on television, you cannot talk about things like oh, do asset allocation, and when you're younger you can take more risk. That's all known, everybody knows it. What makes it attractive is to be able to hawk some pawn, and for that you have to say market will reach 100,000 in 2024 or 2025 or something like that, or maybe 250,000 by 2030. And such outrageous comments have been made in the past. So if you want to reduce the confidence of your statements and reduce the understanding or improve the understanding, let's put it this way, the best investment you can make is buy a 200-page notebook. Let me repeat, 200-page notebook. When you're watching business channels, write down what people are saying. Just write it down. No application of mind. Whoever comes, whatever share price, whatever it is, just write down. So it should not be more than 4 or 5 lines each day, and keep writing every day for 6 months before you do anything. After 6 months or 7 months, start reading that and find out where we are today compared to what we were 6 months ago, and you will realize that it is good fun to watch television. It is good fun to even hear what they say. But the best way to watch television is perhaps to mute it. Yes, I know a lot of us come on television, and we come on television more because somebody calls us and we come. We cannot have ability to predict. We are looking at a TV screen, not at a crystal ball, right? We do not know what is going to happen in the future, and we understand that we do not know what is going to happen in the future. Like they say, there are 2-3 sets of people. One who know that they do not know what is going to happen. The second set of people who know that they do not know what is going to happen. However, the third set is those people who know that they do not know, but it makes sense for them to come on television and make outrageous statements to be in the public eye, right? Just imagine telling Deepika Padukone that from tomorrow she will not do any movies. That's not going to happen, right? She craves for that being in front of the people. It's not just the money. Of course it's the money, but it is not just the money. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar must be feeling so left out, because today when he goes into a stadium, people still recognize him because he has played in the recent past, say 5 years, 6 years. But there is nobody shouting Sachin, Sachin, the way the crowd used to go Sachin, Sachin, right? That is not happening. So that kick is missing. 5 years later, 10 years later, people will not recognize him, because the youngsters who are coming in will say, oh, there used to be Sachin. Then you tell them that this is Sachin Tendulkar, they may not even recognize him. I do not know how many from the current generation would recognize Gundappa Vishwanath, right? But Ravi Shastri or Sunil Gavaskar keep coming on television because they're still doing something actively, so they are recognized, right? So largely you need recognition because you're raising money. You need recognition because you want visibility, the kick. I mean, I come on television, what do I get for it? Nothing, right? You don't get paid for coming on television. Why do I do it? I really don't know why I do it. I don't write for anybody for free. I write only for people who pay me money, but I do television for free, right? So there is something wrong. There is some fun in coming on television, or getting a kick of coming on television, and therefore we come. It does not mean you should listen to all that we say. If I tell you the market is going to reach a particular place, it is not. I'm not, like I repeat myself, I'm not looking at a crystal ball. I'm just guessing what will happen, and I have no clue what will happen tomorrow, forget 10 years later, right? So from where we get this confidence to predict the markets, I do not know. but the need to be on television is something which I'm sure all of you will appreciate. So because I have to come there, I have to say something, and I have to say something exciting, right? Financial porn, that's what it is. Thank you.